You know the thing that I hate about the summer? The fact that it's hot. I'm not comfortable. What's up, nerds? Drea here. Trying and failing to figure out life. So, I love movies. And contrary to popular belief, this love of movies is fairly recent. I actually hadn't seen much variety before I started college, where I made it a mission to see as many movies as I could to catch up. I also started going to the theaters more. I think I went to more movies in 2014 than I have ever been to in my life before and after. I know this because I collect movie ticket stubs, which seem to be a rare thing these days. Stupid cell phones. My new love of movies also lined up with the creation of this YouTube channel, but you've heard that story before. So my friends hate this about me, but I have a really hard time taking off the critic hat when I'm watching a movie. I also have issues with getting way too into my feelings for said movie. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the 3 mainstream movies that made me sob. Now, some of you might be thinking, yeah, right. She's only cried at 3 movies? Sure, she cries when something is too small. Well, you're right. I'm kinda tricking you. See, I cry over everything, so once I get into a movie, I'm probably gonna cry either from laughter, sadness, or, actual joy. But these 3 movies are different. These 3 movies are films I found so frustratingly terrible that I burst into tears. Yes, I know. There are real problems in the world and I'm crying over a bad movie. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Now, I've made it no secret that I love bad movies. Happily Ever After, Ninja Assassin, and The Room are some of my favorites, but that's because they're fun. For various reasons, a film can be so bad it's good. Mortal Kombat 2020 was an absolute train wreck of a movie with bad acting, bad dialogue, and half the plot missing. And I will be seeing the sequel on opening day. And then there's the type of bad movie that just seems to steal all of the joy out of your heart and crush it with its bare, grimy hands. We'll start with a movie where I actually cried after it on the car ride home. And also, since that first viewing, I have completely changed my opinion on it. By now, everyone should know my love of comic book movies. What you may not know, though, maybe you do because I love to repeat myself, I didn't actually grow up reading comic books. I just don't find them to be very interesting for me and also hard to follow, which might be a possible neurological issue, but I'll burn that bridge when I get to it. However, I did grow up during the age of the DC animated universe, which, if memory serves, was not what it was called back then, but who cares about that? I'm talking about Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League, Teen Titans, Batman Beyond, Static Shock. My brothers and I were hooked. And when I started college and started watching more live action stuff, I was ready for some big budget comic book nonsense, which I got from Marvel. While I did like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, the other DC movies just didn't do it for me and most other people. And that was especially hard when it came to the DCEU. Man of Steel comes out and I'm not a fan. Very disappointing. Then the trailer drops for Batman v Superman. I'm hyped. My brother was hyped. We were in college together at the time, so we went off campus to see it together, and I hated it. I hated it so much. I'd only hated one other movie at that point, which we'll get to. I held in my emotions for as long as I could. I was just hoping that the movie would get better, but it just got worse. And then on the car ride home, we were talking about the movie, and I burst into tears. I was just so upset with the movie. Why? Well, honestly, it's because of something that I try to avoid nowadays. I judge the film for what I wanted it to be, rather than the actual quality of the film. At that time, I was new to critiquing films and filmmaking in general. I went in expecting this movie to be Justice League, but 3D. It was not that. It was Zack Snyder doing his own thing. Yeah, like I said at the top of this, I don't hate this movie at all anymore. It took a few months of embarrassing soul-searching, but I have found a lot of things to like. I love Affleck's Batman. I really wish that he'd done more in the role. While Jesse Eisenberg wasn't a good fit for Lex Luthor, he was still very fun to watch. The action, for the most part, is fantastic, especially during the actual Batman v Superman bits. Like that point where Batman is punching Soup's face and then the kryptonite wears off is a 10 out of 10 moment. Where the movie tends to lose me is at the end of that fight. You know the scene.
You're letting him kill Martha!
And then it leads into the really bad DC movie. However, every time I watch Batman v Superman, I find more things to like. So yeah, I cried, in the bad way, but this movie didn't really deserve it. But the next one definitely deserved my tears. Now we're getting into the two truly bad movies. The first film I ever cried over was during my sophomore year of college, and I had really high hopes for it. I'm pretty sure I've made it clear that my taste in movies is very eclectic. My taste in everything is eclectic. During the same time I was getting into comic book movies and horror films, I was also into rom-coms, musicals, fairy tales. Actually, I'm still into fairy tales. I've always been into fairy tales. So imagine my reaction when, in the start of the 2010s, 3 separate versions of Snow White came out. While my favorite princess has always been Cinderella, Snow White is pretty high up there. I've seen the Disney version like 300 times, and I've already mentioned how Happily Ever After, a Disney knockoff that is a sequel to the original Snow White story, is one of my favorite bad movies. Well, I really only liked one of them. Once Upon a Time isn't technically all about Snow White, but actually it is. Everyone is related to Snow White and her prince, even the people who aren't. Anyway, I really liked that series when it started, and we'll leave it at that. Then I saw Mirror Mirror, a more straightforward retelling starring Julia Roberts and Lily Collins. I didn't really care for it. I found the style to be a little too staged and the tone to be off. I was banking on this next version to be the one I would be obsessed with. It looked cooler, more realistic. It starred Kristen Stewart fresh off Twilight and Chris Hemsworth fresh off his film Boom. And Charlize Theron, the goddess! How could this not be an instant classic, right up there with Ever After? Well, it just wasn't good. The film looked dirty, the acting was mixed at best. The story? Look, you really have to get the writing just right to make action fairy tale princess work. And this did not work. Snow White and the Huntsman is one of the worst big budget films I've ever seen. I hate this movie so much. Every character is terrible. Every half-baked new idea they inserted into what should have been a simple story, grounded in fantasy realism, just plain sucked. Even Charlize Theron couldn't save this movie. Think about that. Also, no one seems to bring this up, but they just straight up stole a part from Princess Mononoke. This movie is bad. Like, truly bad. And yet it got a sequel. A sequel that I have just refused to see. I'm not doing it. I've seen this movie 3 times. The first time, I sobbed right in front of my friends. They laughed at me a little bit. The second time, I was very angry, and also proving to my best friend that this movie that he said was actually okay was absolutely not. I won. And the third time, I was hoping it would get better. It didn't. This movie sucks. It's a trash movie that had so much potential. This last movie genuinely made me question everything I knew about films, critiquing, and life in general. Yeah, I'm serious. DC has made a lot of mistakes. The Green Lantern? Mistake. Justice League? Mistake. Batman and Robin? Huge mistake. But one movie that people seem to call one of their worst, I actually kind of liked. Suicide Squad wasn't a good movie by any means, but I found it to be mostly fun and stupid. It's another one of those movies that got better upon repeat viewings because a lot of my friends actually do like it. So I was surprised when they announced this kind of half-soft reboot, half-sequel thing directed by James Gunn. I decided to watch the movie by myself since this was before I started going back to theaters. I turned off the lights, grabbed a plate of nachos, and tucked in to watch The Suicide Squad. I hate this movie so much. My main reason for not liking it is it's just downright unpleasant. And I do like some unpleasant movies. I consider the second half of Titanic to be unpleasant, and that's almost a masterpiece. Kinda. But The Suicide Squad is unpleasant with the guise of, it's just dumb fun. I mean, the main characters in this brutally kill a bunch of absolutely innocent people, and it's played off as a joke. I'm sorry, but that's not fun. Also, they get rid of almost every character I actually liked in this. All I can say about it is Harley was great as usual. Every time the movie seemed like it was gonna be epic, it wasn't. It's like it made itself into a joke, and not a funny one. So after the movie ended, I was like, this is bad, but there's been a lot of bad DC movies. So I went to go watch some reviews, which I usually do for comic book movies, just in case I miss some like hidden comic book lore that I won't get because I don't read comic books. And to my surprise, everyone seemed to like the movie. I asked my brother and he liked it too. Everyone was calling this a great and fun movie. I was absolutely flabbergasted. Like, this movie is clearly bad, right? Right? And then the existential crisis began. Did I even know anything about movies? Was I so jaded by all the bad movies I've seen that I just don't even know what makes a good one anymore? Did I just need to give up on critiquing films in general? Was I the problem with the industry?
Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain.
I literally sobbed for like 30 minutes and was completely off for like 2 weeks. Then I had my best friend sit down and watch it, which we usually have different opinions on movies, and he takes things way less seriously than I do. He also didn't like it. So that leads me to say, all of y'all are just wrong. Y'all are crazy. This movie sucks. It's not fun. The villain is terrible. Not good. I hated it. And now I hate it mostly because it made me literally feel this way. I will never be watching this movie again. Whew, okay. That was a lot. These days, I really don't like to dwell on media that I don't like. Guys, something that I often forget is that media is supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun, why are you watching it? That's also why I have a lot of dropped anime on MAL now. I'm not gonna invest time in something I'm not enjoying. There's no point. Anyway, that'll do it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed my unhinged rant and the fact that I don't have a lot of control over my emotions. Please subscribe if you haven't already and ring the bell so you're notified when I finally decide to be consistent. At least I know I'm in good company. None of the YouTubers that I currently watch have consistent schedules. Also, please check out my Instagram and my Facebook page where I post twice a week, and my TikTok where I post basically whenever the spirit moves through me. Please have a great rest of your day, week, month, and year, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye! I worked out a lot today during my breaks. During my breaks at work, I either sleep, lie down and watch YouTube videos, or I go to the gym. I did both of those things. I did all of those things today. I laid down during my lunch and also took a little bit of a nap, and I worked out during my 2 15 minutes. I don't know. I'm just trying to do better. I'm trying.